What's going on, guys? Gonna do a quick SoFi update. Weird day in the market though. We saw a big sell-off midday and then a V-shaped recovery to end it. SoFi ended up 2% on the day, a little bit down after hours, but I did go ahead and scale into some longer calls today. Not to say we won't go lower, but I did get that dip buy opportunity that I was targeting. If you watched this video right here, I was saying that I wanted SoFi to come down and fill this gap, which it did. And that is a retest of the breakout. And now I can see us bouncing from there if the overall market wants to and send us higher. The real dip buy opportunity, I do still think could be between 25 and that 26.50 range. Let me show you what I'm talking about here. So basically, popped up, and then I was talking about that gap. We come down, fill the gap, and retest the breakout. Now, that's basically previous month value area high, which is where we bounced from. But the previous month POC is at 25.90. We have pretty heavy support, anywhere from 24.90 to 26.56. This is like an absolute load zone for me, which is why I only scaled in here. I didn't go too heavy here in case I do get this buy. So that is actually what I'm waiting for. And if we check out the weekly, it's even clearer. It was just a breakout retest. So that's why in the video I talk about, it's like I don't want to chase up here because I thought, we were going to retest this breakout and fill that gap. So now this is our new resistance. We need to break over that. That can become support, and we can head higher from there into price discovery mode. But the main point of this video is that I'm going to be accumulating basically because I think the S&P 500 inclusion is coming, and I think this one can run more. So I added 2 January 2027 calls, 40 strike, as well as a little bit to my January 2026 position. So basically, just pointed that out, retest the breakout. So I added, but the real dip buy is between 25 and 27. As far as the flow goes, 2.7 million to the call side, half a mil to the put side. They're all pretty much targeting November, January, and then a few Decembers in there. But if we check out a few things about the S&P 500 inclusion, starting with, some of the bigger names. SoFi, I believe, is a big name. It kind of rings a bell like Hood, Palantir, Tesla. It kind of has the same attraction, same fan base to it, which is why I think it could run. Usually stocks tend to soar after they're included in the S&P 500, and that's for a few reasons. I'm just going to use a few examples here, Palantir and Tesla. So here's Palantir. No major catalyst. SoFi just announced great earnings, member growth, revenue growth. It's looking amazing, fundamentally, great leadership, everything. And if we get this inclusion, you'll have the announcement on December 12th, I believe. So we'll see December 12th is the next announcement. And then December 19th would be the effective date of the inclusion. And so if you look at something like Tesla, on the announcement, the stock rose 40%. And then continued rising to up by 70%, and that was during that 2020 crazy bull run of Tesla, and it's obviously gone up ever since. But that's a pretty big jump in the stock, and that's why I did make that video saying I think SoFi could double from here if we get this inclusion. It's not guaranteed though, and that's something that needs to be known. Even if it doesn't happen this year, I still believe in the stock a lot. And then so here's the announcement of Palantir. Here's the inclusion. So you have institutions buying into the stock. The liquidity goes up, and you have the hype and FOMO. Now, there have been stocks, obviously, that have been included in S&P 500 and haven't really done much, or there's no crazy reaction to it. But like I said, I think SoFi is a different animal, and it's in the same category as these names that are very popular. And here's what I said in the Discord yesterday. You might have already read it, but basically in September, Palantir was trading around $30. Then within 10 trading days, it soared to 37, so up 23% just on that announcement and inclusion. And here's the chart for that. And then I basically just said it doesn't always mean anything. But SoFi does have the fanboys, the hype, momentum, popularity, and it could run hard with anticipation and the announcement and inclusion. And then being added to the S&P 500 is pretty significant. It means ETFs and index funds have to buy shares of the newly added company. Could create large predictable flow and buy orders. So you have the pre-announcement rise, inclusion day jump, and then obviously you might have a sell-off or, return back to the median after that. But yeah, that's basically what I'm looking for SoFi. And since it's actually a solid company, it's just another catalyst. Obviously, still be cautious up here as we have gone up a lot on SoFi this year. So that's why I'm just scaling in, being careful, and looking for more of a supply buy. A demand buy than supply buy, which is why I held off when it was $32. But that's what I have on SoFi. And then real quick, just wanted to talk about Marvell. All right, so this one actually surged on Amazon earnings. So we got a nice pop on it today, a weekly breakout, and then, it hit a resistance zone. I took some off the table today, even though I still think that Marvell can run. I wanted to lock in some profits and leave some runners, and I still have my shares on it. But a nice weekly breakout, great close. I do still think news is coming for this one, and I think, it's just kind of cooling off. The overall market cooled off a little bit today, midday, but we just saw profit taking, and that was our first attempt at breaking over that. So we'll see. I want to see this one hold like around that $91 zone, or retest that 12-month value area high, pretty much the same zone right there. Test and hold that, and then head higher. But took some off the table, alerted everyone I was taking some profits off the table. I believe it was in this one. So yeah, here's what we had. Up nice on Marvell. Had 3 calls, 20 shares, 1 call in Robinhood. Sold this one, sold one of these, and then I'm letting 2 ride and 20 shares ride. So yeah, I thought that was pretty diabolical how it pops up to around like 96, 97, and then just sells off. And let's see if we filled that gap real quick, or if there's still a gap to fill. Okay, so small gap to fill. I want to see it fill that and hold this area and then head higher. So that's what I have on Marvell. We can check the flow real quick to end the video, but I do think news is still coming. However, a lot of puts just piled in. I didn't even notice those today. So I'm glad I took some profit. Maybe they're expecting that gap to fill, but hopefully we get some news before that. But this one was a great trade. So locked in most of the profits and letting some ride. Hopefully you guys got in on that one. I did make a video on it. I do think BBAI might be next for news. And please like and subscribe and have a good one.